Hi again, Sarah. I wanted to just let it be known that it does look like there's conclusive paperwork showing the easement was filed on the 8th. It's pretty interesting and devastating in a lot of ways because you know all of our hearts are so invested in this movement. Um, I don't know that I'll be able to sleep much tonight. Um, anyway, finding this easement and this paperwork, I started to delve into exactly what they've been talking about, and I just want to point something out that in their own paperwork, starting on page 17, they start to make some declarations about the environmental condition of the property to be worked on. Specifically, they've been working on Meyer property and other property around Standing Rock, but Meyer property is a specifically important one for the reason that I will show you now. So they have very definitive no's you see on quite a few of these questions, like they've done their diligence and they've looked into it and they're sure. And if they're not sure, they give an unknown or an explanation, or they say that it's not applicable, like here and here and here. So these they don't have to answer. But then what caught my eye was the break-in pattern, and instead of claiming that there's no pesticides, they say that they're not sure. And so what I wanted to talk to you about for a minute is just the fact that there is a finding, a very clear finding from April 2008. Let me just show you it. It's against David Meyer, and it was David Meyer being found guilty by the United States Environmental Protection Agency in Region 8. You can see it was filed at 2:30 on April 22nd, 2016. David Meyer was found guilty of putting 40,000 pounds of Rozol prairie dog poisoning on different areas around his what were then his properties. They're now sold to Dakota Access. They were sold to Dakota Access in September of 2016. It's known that this is a lethal anticoagulant, and he was ordered, as you can see here, to immediately take measures to ensure that the livestock were quarantined and that the Rozol would be cleaned up, and that none of the bison would be eaten. So they said it would be okay to just till all of the misapplied Rozol into the soil, and then continued surveillance. So what I noticed at first is just how inadequate this EPA order is. It should never have been a voluntary cleanup, and it should never have been a suggestion to just till it into the soil. Also important in this EPA order are the notices. There's this Region 8 EPA contact and a tribal contact from Standing Rock named Allison Two Bears. Just putting that out there. This has been known. You can see some of this for yourself. I hope you do. So that is the order for cleanup from the EPA to David Meyer. Now, what I want to show you next is a PowerPoint. I wanted to show you how I got there. I knew what to search for first of all, because I had seen it before. But I want you all to see it, because a lot of people haven't opened this PowerPoint because it is a download, so it looks a little intimidating when you just click on something, and as you can see, it just downloads straight to your computer. So I get that. A lot of people haven't seen this. I'll download it and I'll open it up so you can see it. It's going to take a couple minutes. But before I do that, I just want to show you that I not only was looking at this this easement, and seeing that they've claimed on this property they've bought from David Meyer that they don't know if there are any. Let me make this a little bigger. They say, they ask to be in compliance. I think this is probably a standard form for an easement granting like this. They have to do some sort of answering about the environment. And so here you see that there's the federal FIFRA Act, which I'm just learning about. I Googled it and found a lot of the things that made me want to do this video. They're claiming that the property where the construction is, they don't know if there's Rozol or any fungicide, pesticide, herbicide used on the property. They are claiming that they don't know that if it was used in greater than household quantities. They're claiming that they don't know if it was applied in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. And they say that they don't know if there are any CERT on site. Further, they say they don't know if it was used in greater than household quantities, and then they claim that there have been no, not unknown, but known that there have been no reports or evidence of spills of any pesticides, fungicides, or herbicides on the property. So they're claiming with this line that they showed that through record search and or interview, and they found a conclusive no. So maybe somebody told them what they wanted to hear. I'm not sure. All I know is that this section right here, this whole section of the easement 3-4, from here 3-4 A through F, is majorly problematic when you then compare it to the very clear matter of EPA v. Meyer, which I try to be professional, but I'm not a paid researcher. I'm not a professional analyst per se. I might have some of those abilities, but this is not my normal line of work, and it's not something that I'm particularly good at. I just am finding a couple bits of information here or there, and I'm seeing very important truths emerge. So, as I said, David Meyer was found guilty. nodapl claims that there's no evidence of any guilty finding about David Meyer on the property they bought from him. And now let me just show you why I think that. So I just downloaded this, the Buffalo Meyer. Let's see, Buffalo Meyer. Sorry, I have to recover my open office to see all my writings. I'm great at saving things as they come up, as you can see. So anyway, here's the PowerPoint. It's pretty heavy, so brace yourself. Wilder or the Meyer Ranch, they're different areas of property throughout Standing Rock, which I'll show you in a minute. But this is saying that it was prepared fall 2016. Oops. Remember that this was This was done in April 2016, and camp had already started, I think, in just after that, in some parts of Standing Rock, which were not directly in the Rozol most of the time, but most of the construction is, from what I understand. And then some people's tents have tested positive for Rozol, so some people have been camped where there is Rozol. So I think this is like an inside meeting minutes, and I guess I could just say it's from the RRT meeting between Cannonball Ranch and Wilder Ranch Standing Rock Indian Reservation. So here's the PowerPoint, and basically what you need to know is that there's a lot of info in this PowerPoint, so don't be afraid to go research it and click it yourself, and just look through it, read it very carefully, because this was made by someone for the RRT meeting. Basically, I think that's got to be basically a cleanup and recap meeting about this. You can see the incident is overviewed as of April 4th. David Meyer misapplied this Rozol. 5 bald eagles and a bison were found dead. I've heard that it's many more bison than that. Some pictures were provided, and OSC requested for potential emergency cleanup. These are the interested parties. It's very interesting to me that the Standing Rock Indian Reservation contact Alice and Two Bears did not tell the protectors as they came about this. We can see where the pesticides were used. They were used around here, here, and up here. You can see a site map more clearly right here. These are areas that have been bought by the Meyers. It's a strange thing. All of the coordinates are wacky. Anyway. Here you see 40,000 pounds of Rozol were applied on 5,000 acres of land. The responsible party, or RP, had no license. And David Meyer owns 60,000 acres of land in the area, so God knows what he's done in other areas. But yeah, so he did this, and you can see this is the pictures. These are the pictures of the Rozol on the ground, the warning label, the Rozol facts, and you can see very highly toxic to wildlife. Mammals need to consume a very little bait to achieve a lethal dose, and it may move up the food chain. Not particularly mobile, but can tend to move off-site by water runoff or into groundwater. And when they say half-life here, I think that, yes, of course, there's going to be some chemical changes in anything, really. I mean, even in our own blood, there's half-life for lots of things, but that doesn't change the fundamental toxicity and nature of a thing. So don't let that fool you. This is the bison that was found dead. I think the initial bison. Here are the cleanup authorities. This is the formal name for Rozol, the active ingredient. And then here's where it talks about the voluntary cleanup, where they are saying that they removed excess Rozol and buried in a depth of 18 inches in the designated area, mixing and tilling the remaining Rozol into 4 inches of soil. So we're not sure how much they cleaned up and how much they tilled in, but it seems to be that they've tilled in quite a bit. if 40,000 pounds were misapplied, and then he's saying here, you can just see the claim that the Rozol is mixed into the soil. And then here's the big drum roll slide. The post cleanup, August 2016, you can see 2 dead bison were found again. There's also been a recent quarantine for bison, for the buffalo, and then you see here September 2016, the responsible party sold a portion of the Cannonball Ranch to Dakota Access LLC. Okay, so 40,000 pounds, voluntary cleanup, Rozol mixed into the soil, claiming no knowledge of it even though they bought the property from David Meyer. So that's problematic for a lot of reasons. I encourage you to look up this. If you just copy pasted this, you will download this and you will see what I'm talking about. You can see some people have covered it. I'm so happy about that, because it is so bad. Oh, look, here I am. Yep, see, I made sure to publish these because they are very important. Here you can see before that PowerPoint was messed up, the coordinates were all easily visible. Anyway, there's my Facebook. Please don't stalk me. Let's see. Yeah, and so then what I wanted to say next was, okay, first of all, super fishy that it is clearly stated by David Meyer and the responsible parties at this meeting in these PowerPoint slides that this property was sold from David to Dakota Access, and there's a majorly public contamination EPA cleanup order for lethal rodenticide is really what they call it. It's a pesticide, but it's a rodenticide really, because it doesn't kill pests. It kills animals. It kills mammals. It kills larger. I mean, I guess pest is relative, right? But it's a gnarly, really heavy, lethal poison, and they're claiming no knowledge of it. And it was a public finding. I mean, it's right here. You can see it right here. It's not hard to find. So it kicked me into needing to research a little bit more what this FIFRA Region 8 Rozol was all about. I didn't know what the FIFRA was, but here I found some info, and I'll let you look at that yourself. Region 8 is composed of Colorado, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, and Wyoming. They have the same sort of management and disaster relief and floodplain management, all of these things. At FEMA Region 8 Tribal Affairs is an interesting place to go. Region 8 Tribal Contacts, for example. Here we go. I mean, you can see just right on their own website that the tribal nations are working with them, partners in action, so to speak. And so I did a little extra research, and I saw something pretty important. I saw this fourth quarter newsletter from Region 8. It's volume 4, number 3, quarterly newsletter 2013. I just was searching for Rozol, and some interesting things came up. I'd like it if everybody could go to this page themselves. It's basically a identifier, a newsletter of what's going on with the EPA. And on page 6 you see that the EPA and community in Colorado, Elbert County, avert a potential disaster. It says a potential disaster was avoided as a result of an attentive homeowner who recognized the potential negative consequences of surface application of a rodenticide in the Elkhorn Ranch subdivision. Okay, so I just want to point out that as this goes on, you can read it and you can see how attentive everybody was to getting this Rozol cleaned up. And I would like to also draw your attention to the fact that this whole write-up is only over 55 7 55-gallon drums. So 7 times 5, so 350, 400 gallons of misapplied or inappropriately applied prairie bait. That's hard to say. And they go into depth here. The cleanup was first made with shovels and later with a vacuum. The barrels were stored for 3 weeks before disposal, and the soils were sampled, but no significant residue remained. And they did such things as saying that it was necessary to obtain access and distribute FIFRA fax to residents through door-to-door inquiries. The Homeowners Association provided a map of the location where the pesticide had been applied through their website and asked homeowners to call verbally grant property access so they could come on. So basically, you can read this yourself, but what you see here is you see just a lot more exposure and discussion over, I guess, what would be just a fraction of the Rozol that was misapplied at David Meyer's ranches. And it's in a news bulletin, but it's not in a news bulletin anytime recently. It's not in a news bulletin like it is here for fourth quarter newsletter. Let me show you where I got this. Let's see what it comes up. So I forget where I did come to this by news. This is that's a funny Freudian slip right there. I take a screenshot. Prump. I'm going to call him Prump now. President Trump approves major disaster for South Dakota. That's funny. I need a little. I'm sorry, but that's hilarious. That's really, I have to click it. That is funny. I wonder, like, do they not have editors that can, I mean, that's not, I think that's so funny. Anyway, okay, back to the very serious lethal poison. I'm a little delirious because I've been dealing with this for weeks, and it's really broke my heart in a lot of ways. And I had to pull away from talking about the Rozol because I wanted to not well, I had done my diligence. I had contacted Aaron Brockovich. I had contacted Democracy Now! And Reuters and alt media, and I got a lot of people to report, and I got a health advisory sent out, but here we are again. So I've had a lot of time to process this, Rozol. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm making light of it at all. I just really can't process it that centrally without feeling really bad, because it is really bad. There's lethal poison on the ground that's strong enough to kill bison, and it can go into the water. So that is what we're dealing with, and that is what we're dealing with, guys. I guess this long video really is to make a point to show you that there's ample evidence of the EPA order for David Meyer, and that, well, on that PowerPoint I showed you that David Meyer did sell the land to Dakota Access in September 2016, and they're claiming, has Dakota Access, the winner of this easement, they're saying that they know there have been no reports of evidence of spills of any pesticides, fungicides, or herbicides on the property. This is all very very fishy, and you can see here in the FIFRA, I mean, the R is for rodenticide. So I'm not sure why they don't put rodenticide in each of these questions. I wonder if that's like a loophole they're exploiting or something. I'm not sure, but I thought I would point it out. And just to end on a high note, the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe together already did propose an order granting from that the easement be enjoined to basically prevent this easement from being legitimized any further, which really it should not be. It's such a shameful just scar on our collective psyche and our collective heart. It doesn't belong in reality. It's not part of who we are as a people. It should be gone, but it is here. So I'm dealing with that. I want to point out this is interesting too. I just am seeing this. The environmental protection within the limits of their respective legal powers, the parties hereto shall protect the premise against pollution of its air, ground, and water. The grantee shall promptly comply with any laws, regulations, conditions, or instructions affecting the activity hereby authorized if and when issued by the EPA or any federal, state, interstate, or local government agency. And the disposal of any toxic or hazardous materials within the premises is strictly prohibited. Such regulations, conditions, or instructions in effect or prescribed by the said EPA or any federal, state, or interstate or local government agency are hereby made a condition of this easement. So I didn't even see that before, but that's really what I was drawing to anyway. It's a condition of this easement that they comply with the FIFRA and all the other environmental considerations. Yeah, so the use of any pesticides or herbicides also, oh, here. The grantee shall not discharge waste or effluent from the premises in such a manner that the discharge will contaminate streams or other bodies of water or otherwise become a public nuisance. And the grantee must obtain approval in writing from said officer before any pesticides or herbicides are applied to the premises. So there's a lot here, but mainly that's the kicker, is that they have poison in the ground that can go to the groundwater. It should be scooped up. It was tilled into the soil. We need clarification on how much is left in the ground. People are going home with symptoms, especially from when there were actions around November and before the snow got there, before the ground froze. There were lots of dust storms, lots of Rozol dirt kicked up, and people do have positive tests for it both in their blood and on their tents. So, and there have been bison dying. So there is still Rozol there. It may be a condition of this easement that Dakota Access cleans up those 80 acres better. That might be at least a significant slowdown for them. Um, and also, it's the right thing to do. It's the truth. It's the truth to tell people that this is there, that these are the contamination zones, and to honor their life. Um, I think that's all I can say for now. I'm just very sorry that the stupid easement was granted under a stupid president. I didn't vote for him, and I didn't vote for Hillary either. They're both awful, awful people. We've got to get past this, you guys. This is all just business as usual for them, and they're thinking we're not paying attention and that we won't say anything and that we'll just let them. And now's really the time to say that any easement or legal action, just like in the spirit of MLK, would say that it's your duty to disobey unjust laws. Correct? It's just, you can't be both an ethical person and following blindly behind somebody who's a killer. You have to think for yourself, and you have to make your own decisions about what you want to do. Because when it comes down to it, and they're writing into law massive human rights injustices, then it comes down to us really being the voice of reason there and saying no, and stopping it, no matter how, no matter what, stopping it. So I'd like to just end and say I send up my prayers that this pipeline here will never be completed, that all of the Rozol on the ground will be cleaned up, and that the hearts and the minds of these people who are so blind to the truth will finally be awakened to see what they're doing to our water, to our land, and to each other. We deserve so much better than this, and we can create such a better world than this. So I am with you from Long Beach, and my heart and prayers go out to you all.